Explain that whole role.
It actually the process of it was different. I had sued the National Enquirer for a story they wrote about me, and the Screen Actors Guild came on board to support me in that lawsuit, which I ultimately won. And when I won, I sat down with the president at the time and I said, if you ever need anything, call on me. And so he called me a few years later and asked me to run for the board of directors. And within 2 months, there was a two-party system, and still remains to be a two-party system within the SAG construct. And the leaders of the one party came to me and said, there's a presidential election coming up and we want you to run. And I said, you're crazy. What on earth? And they said, do you really think James Cagney knew how to start a union? He started it from nothing, which is true. And so I ran, I got elected, and then my opposition party had the election rerun, and I won again by an even larger mandate, actually. The largest turnout and the largest election in the history of Screen Actors Guild. It was an incredible experience for me to learn my way around that process and to be able to pull together this fractured group of people that were it was bitter. It was much like the political landscape is now. It was that kind of rhetorical, angry, none of the work was getting done. It was like the U.S. House of Representatives is now. And I came in and the first thing I did was we ran a slate of 12 vice presidents, and each one had 12 vice presidents back then. And instead of running all of them, I reached across to the other party and I saw people that I thought were reasonable and intelligent, and I let them run unopposed. So immediately we started a dialogue across the aisle. And that's one of the things that I think I will bring with me when I move on, hopefully, to DC. Because someone's got to do something. There's so much fighting, there's so much bickering, and people are so dissatisfied with that. I hear it all the time, and people are struggling, and none of the work is getting done that should be getting done. It's very frustrating.
So let's kind of go back. So you're in Hollywood, you're representing all the actors with SAG. How did it transition where you ended up in Michigan? I mean, of all places in the world, right? Which I love because, I'm from Ohio, and I know, Hollywood to Michigan must be a drastic change to your life, right? From big lights to farmland. No lights, just the stars.
A chainsaw. I had to learn to use a chainsaw this winter when a tree fell across our driveway. My husband wasn't there. So, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. It seemed an inevitable transition. It's now that I'm looking back at it, it makes sense that I would end up in the Midwest. Living what was a very quiet and simple life until I decided to run for Congress, and now it's ramped up into what it is now, which is phenomenal, but very, very busy. I was looking to get away from that history, that other lifestyle. I had tried on my leadership shoes. I became part of the AFL-CIO Executive Council. I was making decisions for millions of people on a daily basis, and there was something that was stirred in me. And then I fell in love with a Michigander. And at the same time, I fell in love with a Michigander. I fell in love with this man who
Midwest boys, if anybody knows any, let me know.
He's great. They're great. He's terrific. And he said to me, I'm absolutely crazy about you. That's the good news. The bad news is I live in Michigan. And I said, no, that's the good news. I want to go. I've been there a bunch of times over the course of my life, and I was ready. And within 6 months, we were moving.
Wait, so you met,
we'd known each other for 25 years.
Okay. You're right.
And it was fast. And it made absolute sense. And the extraordinary thing about Michiganders is I was immediately a part of Michigan. I became a part of the fabric of their lives. I have a core group of girlfriends that are very different from my girlfriends in Los Angeles, but I think if everybody got together, it would be a really incredible, and they will in November. My army of girlfriends are coming to Michigan to help. Oh, that's great. And I just, it's been such an extraordinary transition, and then to be put in a position where I'm a part of a community like that, and now, with these thousands and thousands of people every quarter that are joining on to support my campaign, I can feel the base of support growing, and I now feel, confident that these people who have put their faith in me are ready to have a different voice representing them, and it evolved so quickly into. From moving there to becoming now a potential voice for people who feel like they're not being heard. That's an extraordinary transition to make, and there are quite a few steps along the way, but it all led up to now, and it just makes sense.
So what was so you're in Michigan, you're on your little house on a prairie, literally.
It's a little house in the big woods. Literally, we live in a log house in the middle of 27 acres of woods.
Wow. So when you were there, what was that one issue that you said, oh, I can't stand this. I have to do something about it. I'm going to run for Congress. What was that one issue?
The tipping point for me, I think, was watching my friend Laura. I have a friend, Laura, she was a single working mom. She did everything right. She had a job, she had a home, health care, all of it. And her daughter got this really, really devastating form of cancer and neuroblastoma. And she had to go into treatment for it. And although we have programs for children with catastrophic illnesses in the state of Michigan, Laura had to quit her job, so she lost her health care, then she lost her home, and she did all of this while trying to support and care for her daughter who has cancer. Lauren, her daughter, thank goodness, is in remission now, because U of M is one of the greatest cancer hospitals in the world. But here is this woman who did everything right, struggling so hard to make ends meet. And I started having these conversations, particularly with women who I'm friends with, small business owners who've been struggling. And I was hearing this sense of dissatisfaction and anger and frustration with nobody getting anything done for them and not being heard. And then it expanded into, this overall sense that working families who are the core of the American spirit are struggling daily to make ends meet, and it shouldn't be that way. And in Michigan, we see what happens. Michigan, to me, is the heart of everything. It's the center of the country. When the auto industry crashed, the economy in Michigan started to go downhill. Then the economy in the U.S. immediately followed, and then the world economy followed. And I feel like Michigan is the heart of everything. And so, you could see that my whole posture's changed because now I'm ready to fight, and I'm ready to fix things, and I'm ready to change things, and that takes a sense of frustration and carrying my friend's frustration forward, but it also takes a sense of the reality of how it's going to get done. And I know that if I could do what I did in that Screen Actors Guild boardroom, though smaller in size, I know I can do it moving forward in the U.S. House of Representatives.
So how many people here, if they want to admit, are Democrats? Raise your hand. How many are Republicans? There's only three. That's so funny. All right, so here you are, and I only know this from a friend. What is it? No Democrats have won in Michigan since what year?
No. We do have Democrats who won. We have 2 Democratic senators. But
okay, but what is
it's been a while since a Democrat held this seat.
Okay.
It's been several cycles. The last Democrat to hold this seat was Debbie Stabenow, who is now our senator, who's extraordinary because she's also, she's my mentor too, which is great. It's such a gift to have a woman like that. But she's very strong. She's very powerful, but she's also very reasonable. And I think she has a real understanding that when you get elected, regardless of party, and I will carry this with me too, if I am honored with the opportunity to serve this district and the people of Michigan and the United States, I'm not just representing the Democrats in the area. I'll be representing Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Non-Decided, Green Party, Libertarians, everybody's opinion, and everybody's opinion is of value to me. I have grown up around people with all different kinds of opinions in all different ways. I grew up in a Democratic household, but my ex-husbands were both Republican. And I think it's about having a dialogue and a conversation with people and maintaining civility and humanity, as opposed to this screeching, screaming that we hear going on. And it's coming from both sides. Honestly, it comes from both sides, and it takes two to tango. So it's going to require a tremendous amount of ease and maternal calm to reach out and create this conversation.
So I recall one of your issues that you are supportive of is gun control. And so so tell us a little bit about your experience in life and why that is such an important.
It's tied in, actually. It's the issues of responsible gun ownership are tied into something really personal for me, but it's also tied into the issue of veterans in our country and the fact that we're doing such a horrible job for them. And this is one of the three most important things, and the top three in my focus as a candidate. My father was a veteran of World War II. He was a flyer in the Army Air Corps, and then he became the entertainer, the singer, dancer, musician. He'd originally been an acrobat in the circus as a child. And in Vietnam, he was with the USO, and he went over and entertained, would disappear in the jungle for weeks at a time. And in 1974, while under the care of the VA 75, he had a stroke. And it left him very, very in a tremendous amount of uncontrolled pain and paralyzed on one side. And he was just in this constant agony. And for a year, he kept telling people, I wish I was dead. I would jump off a building. I'm going to kill myself. If I could get a gun, I would shoot myself. And nobody did anything. And when I was 11, my father shot himself. So for me, this becomes an issue on a few different levels. First of all, the rate of suicide for veterans now is higher than it's ever been in the history of our country, and that is unconscionable to me. We are doing such a horrible job of caring for these young men and women that are coming home with catastrophic injuries that they would not have survived 10, 15 years ago because field medicine has come such a long way, which is terrific, but we're not prepared to take care of them, right? You have young men and women who are coming home who are missing limbs, and there's a wait list for artificial limbs in America. It's unbearable almost to me. And then we're not supporting them. Obviously, we're not providing them with the mental health care they need, the physiological care that they need, and the support for their families and the community. And the job retraining is, from what I understand, I talked to a young man who runs the veterans program at Michigan State University, and he said that basically, the teachers don't even really, they just sort of teach the programs and that's it. And then they just say, go on, and do it. And we need to do more. We need to take care of these veterans more. And yes, it is also an issue of, anyone who threatens someone else or themselves should not have access to a gun. And I'll tell you that though my district is, tends to lean in a conservative way, one of the core issues for them is that they actually believe they're very socially progressive. In many ways, they believe that people who are on the terrorist watch list should not have access to guns.
You think that'd be obvious?
You think that would be obvious, but that's something that my opponent supported. So, he allowed access to guns for people on the terrorist watch list. I think we're a little bit afraid of the big gun lobbies, and it's going to take some.
Well, especially in Michigan, I would imagine there's a lot of people that love to hunt, and
so there are. Yeah. And I know a lot of very responsible gun owners. One of my children is a responsible gun owner in Texas, and I have respect for that. These are people, they hunt. Some people, there's.
As a vegetarian, but
I know. It's all a personal thing, but there are a lot of people who hunt deer in Michigan. And there are people who want to keep guns for their own security, who can keep them responsibly. I think there's more we can do to, when you read the statistics of children getting a hold of guns and having accidents and shooting themselves and shooting others, clearly there's more that we can do to keep them safe. But there is a way, and we need to stop talking about it as gun control, but gun sense. Because when you say gun control, everybody backs up and goes, no. But when you talk about it as gun sense, then it starts to make more sense, actually.
So you're also an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what made you decide to launch your production company.
My husband and I have a production company in Michigan with that we share with our partner Jeff Daniels, who is you can currently see on Broadway, who we're seeing tomorrow. And we decided we were tired of leaving Michigan, and we wanted to help not only ourselves in creating this country. Wow, that was Freudian. Creating this company, but also in helping to bring another industry into Michigan that had disappeared. That is Michigan lost a lot when they lost their tax incentives for film and television there. As we know, it's done a huge, it's really helped here in New York and in other places. And so, but the other thing was we didn't want to leave. We wanted to stay in Michigan and work in Michigan and be home and help grow this thing. And so we formed our production company, and we've started very small. We started acquiring